Tip of the tongue, teeth in the lips. We're ready.
Now, brown cow. Unique New York. Unique
Arsonist has
New York.
oddly shaped feet.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. Professional amateurs.
Mhm.
Alex, got a
Yes.
story for you. This is
I'm listening.
a perfect microcosm. By the way, before I launch into the story, if you're on the video on the YouTube, I finally got a light, so my lighting is no longer terrible. I also elevated my webcam, so now you're looking me right in the eyes, and I'm not looking down at you. So subscribe to the YouTube. So watch the video podcasts on Spotify.
Yeah.
If you want to
on,
see
guys.
our new and improved setup. Anywho, so here's a little microcosm of where we are now in the service industry and why I had like a 3-year boycott on Chipotle and all this stuff. So I go to Brugger's Bagels this morning because I said, you know what sounds nice? Day after Thanksgiving Day. We're recording this on Black Friday. Day after Thanksgiving, just a simple like bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. I need to just back to normal here, right?
Yeah.
So I go in there, and the guy at the it's his first day on Earth. I swear to God, it's his first day on planet
First time
Earth.
he's been
I was
alive
like,
ever.
hey, man. Yeah, he spawned in at that Brugger's Bagels this morning. So I go, hey, man, I want to get 2 bacon, egg, and cheese bagel sandwiches on plain bagels. And would you add cream cheese to those for me? He looks at me and goes, so you want 2 sandwiches? And I was like, yes, that is what I said. And he's like, okay. And he like looks down at the little computer and he starts doing his thing, like kind of typing. And I wanted a bagel, plain bagel also with no sandwich on it as like a little, just a little cherry on top of my meal. And I said, I also want an everything bagel with cream cheese as well. And he looks at me, he looks up from the computer and he goes, you want everything on it? I said, what? And he looks at me and he goes, how many eggs do you want? I was like, 2 eggs, 2 sandwiches with 2 eggs apiece on each of the. Like I was like, oh my
I'm gonna
God.
go somewhere else. Never mind, I'm leaving.
Spoiler alert, I didn't get what I ordered at all. I got back. I had the little bag. I got back home, and it was just not even close. And I was like, "Yep, that's."
Was it still good?
That's where we are. It's fine. Like,
Did you still enjoy it?
Not really.
Oh, that's a shame.
Not really. Honestly, it was a big letdown. I mean, it was just
Really
like literally
needed that.
nothing. He got none of it correct. 0% accuracy on the order. It was insane.
That's a tough look.
That's just wonderful. So anyway, Alex, how's your morning going?
I mean, it's great. It's pretty good. Went and saw a movie last night. So Megan, another story. So Megan plays volleyball. My wife plays volleyball. And they had this gobble gobble tournament. They have it every year. It's an indoor volleyball tournament that's in Hopkins. And she got done playing at like 12:30 on Thursday morning. And so then we come home and go to bed and get up the next day. We go to the movie. We go to like family Thanksgiving. And we go to a movie, right? And my father's king of the nap, right? So we don't get a nap in. We get to the movie, and I bought tickets for my family. We get to the movie, and I had to go to the bathroom in the middle, so I get up, go out to the bathroom. Now, mind you, Megan got like 6.5 hours of sleep after playing. We were up till 1:45 because you got to wind down after the tournament, shower, the whole thing. Get up, go over to Thanksgiving. I walk over, and my dad is just straight up just sawing logs in the front row of the theater. And we get out after, and I go, Paul, thank God I bought you that nap, huh? Wasn't that great? And he goes, oh, I got the movie. And I was like, you couldn't have waited till you got home to sleep. You slept in the movie, dude. Like, golly. But it was, oh man, it was good. It was good Thanksgiving. But yeah, it was funny. Megan goes, I think I'm going to fall asleep in the movie. And I said, I got up and I came back and I go, don't worry, Coach did for you. You're good. You can stay awake.
I can't wait till I'm old and I can do things like that.
Oh, and he was just laughing. He got out, my dad, he's kind of just rubbing his hands together. He goes, "Oh, I slept so hard in that movie." And I'm like, it's great.
Great.
Good. Glad you enjoyed it. Happy I could buy you that nap, Coach.
Oh
Unbelievable.
man, wonderful. The
Yep.
holidays, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh man. So here's what I got for you. I was talking to, I think the subject for this is kind of, maybe the title is, two people run the same program, same strength program, same fitness program. Why do they get different results? Because this is something that I find myself talking about more and more and more as a coach in my coaching career, especially with like a high school aged athlete. I find that if a guy or gal makes it to very high level sports, they kind of start to figure this out on their own. But if you have a beginner, I mean, it can be an adult, a beginner in fitness, or like a young kid who's just getting started in lifting weights or strength and conditioning or training for sports, this is something that has got to get hammered home if you want to see results. And I think that there's a lot of people out there like me who are strength and conditioning guys. We got our master's degree and whatever, and we've got our certifications, and you kind of get hung up on your programming. You kind of hang your hat on how good you are at writing a program, but the fact is the programming is like 20% of it, you know. And I find myself repeating this line where I'm like, guys, like the program is just a guideline for us to follow, but if you want to get results, that's on you. And I kind of boil this down to like a few pillars of, these are the things, these are the variables that you have to nail if you want to make sure that the program works. Because you genuinely can have two athletes or two people run the same program, same sets and reps, same progressions, so on, and get wildly different results in terms of muscle growth, in terms of strength transfer, in terms of all that. And here's what I've concluded. Number one is intent and attention. So what I mean by intent and intention is, I go into a set of an exercise. I want to know, before I even start, what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. What's this for? What am I looking to feel? And am I giving it all of my attention, paying attention to whether or not I'm feeling that thing, and whether or not I am pushing myself above and beyond the level of effort that's required for what I'm trying to accomplish. So, for example, the most common one I see is you get in a weight room and you do like jumping exercises, right? Super common thing to do for athletes. You put some light dumbbells in your hand and you're doing weighted jumps, or you're doing bounding, or you're doing hurdle hops, or you're doing box jumps, or you're doing depth jumps, or drop jumps, or there's this long list of jumping exercises. The most common thing that gets done wrong that I've seen in my career is that people treat it like a warm up, because you go in the weight room and you're like, oh, it's squat day. And so everything that precedes the squat, you get in your head that it's a warm up for the squat. And that's just not the case. It's part of the workout. It's part of the training session, right? In fact, for many people, that stuff's more important than the squat, right? Because you're slow.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what you have to do is you have to pay close attention to what kind of intent and intention you're carrying into those exercises, because it won't work if you don't have this maximum level of aggressiveness, of speed, of effort to be trying to drive your explosiveness ability higher and higher. So if you want to be faster, if you want to be more explosive, you have to train like you want to be more explosive. You can't just like kind of go through the motions on the jumping and have it work, unless the point of the jumping for that training session is extensive conditioning, right? You're doing like a long 5-minute, 8-minute, 10-minute set of low pogo hops. You're doing, maybe you're doing like an extensive bounding exercise for speed endurance, whatever it is. But for the most part, when people do jumping exercises in the weight room, they're trying to be more powerful. So you have to train like you're trying to become more powerful. You can't carry a lack of intention or paying attention to what you're doing into those and expect them to work. They don't. Right. And so when you look at the program on paper, it's like, oh, look, I rode the curve of the neurological motor unit demand, and I'm going from most explosive to least explosives, from compound to isolation. I nailed this program. But if the person doing the program doesn't understand, like, why is this in there, then it doesn't matter. It's not going to work. And so that's really important. So intent, attention, all that stuff, right? Same goes for regular lifts. You carry regular lift. You have to have this intent, understanding, why am I doing this one? Why am I doing a RFE split squat or a Bulgarian split squat? Am I doing this for flexibility today? Am I doing it for strength? Am I doing it for speed? Understanding the why behind why it's even in there will help inform your intent of what you carry into that, your choice of how much weight you use, how you move, all that stuff. So that's number one, intent, paying attention to the details, all that stuff. Number two is kind of a 1A. It's very related to number one, but it's mind-muscle connection, right? Especially if your goal is muscle growth. If you don't know what muscle you're working, how are you expect to grow it? What the hell are we talking about? Right? And so, that's a common question you get when you're working with beginners, is like, where should I feel this? Right? And that's good. But then oddly, you get a little bit more intermediate, and people stop asking that question. They're just like, look how much weight I lifted. It's like, hey man, where are you feeling that? Are you feeling that in your glutes, in your quads, in your hamstrings? Do you have any idea? Because they're just kind of, they get a little bit more external with their focus, and they're just like, I made the weight move. And that has a value. But if your goal is muscle growth, you need to have some awareness of those muscles stretching, squeezing, working, fatiguing, all that, if you want to stimulate them to grow. That's not new. I'm not making this up. This is not even really an original thought. Arnold Schwarzenegger and all the 70s bodybuilders were talking about mind-muscle connection 50 years ago. So this is not something that is an original thought to Zach, but it does get lost in the shuffle in all the stuff we talk about. You get so many guys, they're hung up on, what percentage are we working at? Are we working at 80% or 82.5%? It's like, dude, really? Does that really, that's not that important. What's really important is, can you feel it? Is it hard? Is it challenging you? Right? So, and that brings me to number 3. Are you working at a high enough effort threshold to make a change? Are you getting over and above a level of perceived effort that's going to count? You cannot work, we talk about RIR, reps in reserve, RPE, rate of perceived effort, far more than we talk about percentages. Because if you're trying to hit a percentage, it's a moving target anyway. If you think that you're going to go in there and hit precisely 82.5% of your 1 rep max on a random Thursday in December, it's a pipe dream. It's not going to work.
It ain't happening.
You don't know. You're estimating your 1 rep max usually. Then you're working off of probably a training max. And then 82.5% is probably going to be rounded by the nearest 5. You're estimating. You've got 3 layers of estimation. And you don't know if you're an athlete, if you're a person who's doing more than just lifting weights or just training for strength, you've got other variables in the bucket as well. So you could be fatigued from baseball practice or hockey, or, you could be, if you're a weekend warrior, you could have a big project going on at work that's taking it out of you neurologically. It is a fool's errand to try to precisely hit that every single time. You can use it as a guideline by all means, but I think it's a lot more pragmatic to just look at the plan and say, hey, was that hard? Was it challenging? And if yes, cool. How challenging? How close was I to failure? Every now and then it's going to take us at 2 failures, so you remind yourself that's what that actually feels like. Have your lifting partner watch you or film yourself. I'm guilty of this. I'll do a set of an exercise and I'll film it to look at my technique, and I'll get done with the set and I'll go, oh my God, that was hard. And then I look at the video and the bar is just going like pop, 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 pop. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's not right. Of course, there's a fast twitch muscle fiber ratio and all. You can get into that, but sometimes your perception is not always reality in terms of what you can actually do. So that's important as well. But you have to make sure that you're working close enough to failure that you're actually getting those reps, stacking those reps that make a difference. Right.
Well,
So,
this is I 100% agree as far as this is the same issue we have in the rehab realm as well. When we have people training or like they're trying to get better from something, I can give, or Megan and I can give someone the same 6 exercises, the same 6 things. One person gets better in a week and a half. The other person never gets really that much better because they don't put in the effort or they don't really concentrate that hard, which is 90% of the fight, right? Another good example of this is we had a pitcher come into a session the other day and he's rehabbing from a different injury already. So he's got something going on that he's rehabbing. He comes in and he's got like KT tape on his hamstring near his knee. And he goes, I go, what'd you do to your leg? And he goes, I've been walking uphill on a treadmill a lot because I'm trying to get leaner. And I go, yeah, wow, okay. And he goes, I'm trying to get leaner. And I was like, understood. I said, well, why don't you just like sprint? And what do you mean? I said, what, you're already under a huge caloric demand. Like your scope of where you're allotting your calories is already very stretched. If you're training 4 to 5 days a week, throwing 3 days a week, rehabbing from this injury, being a high schooler, and you're sprinting, you don't need to be walking uphill on a freaking treadmill, dog. And you already move slow. So doing more reps, and you're already conditioned. This kid's already very conditioned. He has no problem doing things. We're just taking more things out of the bucket that we need to put into the bucket that we actually need to be in, right? So we have this huge deluge where it's just like this vast cavern is just continuing to open up, and he's just digging deeper, deeper, deeper. And I go, why are you doing that? he didn't understand. But it's one thing, you're happy that someone is willing to put forth that kind of effort because they want a result. And I said, hey, why don't you just like clean up your diet all the way? He goes, well, yeah, I know. I'm like, actually clean up your diet, like all the way. If you want to really get lean, start with your diet. Your activity level's plenty high. Your relative stress level's pretty high. I was like, if you really want to get lean, you could eat 3,000 calories. And if you had the right mixture of macros and what you're doing, you'd be lean as heck. Mm-hmm. You'd be fine. And he goes, right. But this is the point of it is that the allotment of your mental resources towards your physical training is just as important as the actual physical training part itself. You need to actually be present while you're doing something to get the results you need. And if you're not present, you're not going to get anything. You could have, like you said, we think about this all the time too when we're doing rehabs. You could have the perfect trajectory, the perfect, you know where you're going to be. Great example, a return to throw program. You could have the perfect program. It's laid out. You have this huge sheet. You're giving it to the person. You're like, okay, you're going to do this. You're going to do that. It's all bullshit unless the person actually wants to get better. Or unless they actually make the changes. It's an understanding what the goal is, right? The goal is not just to get healthy enough to throw. The goal is to get better at throwing so that you don't ever come back to this. Become competent mechanically so that you never come back to the same risk factor that you did before unless something else changes. You know, you go through 300 innings in a year, your risk for injury is pretty high. But this is the whole idea is we as the providers, the purveyors of the knowledge, sometimes just got to get out of our own way and be like, are you trying hard? And do you understand what you're doing? And if you can keep it that simple, we do that with some of our, when Megan and I have people come to the clinic that are either in the volleyball community or baseball community, they're friends of ours and they come and train with us and they're novice and they start and then they train and they go, I'm feeling it. Is this right? And I go, are you feeling it? You know, and they go, yeah. And I go, that's right. And they go, how was that jump? How was that jump? Did you try hard? Yeah. Great. That's all we need. Yeah. So I totally agree. It's very interesting to see that the dichotomy of like, it can be perfect. We can do everything perfect, Zach. We can put them in the perfect position with the perfect tapering, all these things. But if they come in and they're not there with it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, we could have given them the Holy Grail and been like, here, you've solved the quest. And they just drop the Grail on the ground and they go, I don't see the Grail. So it's, you know.
Well, and I tell you what, I think rehab is in many cases the worst culprit of violating these rules. You know, I can't, you're going to agree with me. Can't tell you how many countless times I've had athletes come in when they have some injury history and they show me what they've been doing, right? Here's my rehab plan that I got from my doctor. And I'm like, oh, okay. How's that going for you?
Yeah.
And it's always like, I don't know, fine, I guess. Right. Like, and by the way, it's always like every fucking rehab plan is just like 9 variations of band clams. So
Yeah.
there's a different bone to pick there, but I'm like, pick one on the list. And I'm like, okay, so what's this one for? Like, why are you doing this one? What are you trying to accomplish with this? And they never, ever know. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like, oh, it's a kid. There's a teenager who forgot. Right. I'm like, did the therapist like explain to you what you're supposed to be feeling here, or like what this one's for? And they're like, no, not really. They just gave this to me and said, do it. Okay, cool. Doctoring,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like sick
Yeah.
doctoring. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll do their job for them for a lot cheaper. And I'll tell you what you're supposed to be feeling with this and what it's for and why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then lo and behold, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, that feels way different now. And I'm like, how long have you been doing this? Oh, 5 weeks? Cool. Wasted 5 weeks. Sick. That's so money. So now that brings me to what am I on? Number 4? Number 5?
You're on 4 now.
Number
4. Yep, 4.
I'm on 4.
Yep.
Progression. Progressive overload. Right? Now this is where programming and plan percentages are really advantageous, where it kind of forces you to do this, where you're like, okay, today I'm doing 85%. Whatever 85% is supposedly calculated at, I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But you can accomplish that even without calculating, even without planning the weights out specifically. You can just say like, hey, every other week I'm going to go up in weight, period. Right. And you can do that. Right. And especially if you're being repetitive with exercise selection, if you squat every Wednesday, if you're on a routine where like every Wednesday squat day, or every Monday I do, bench press or whatever, you can just add a 2.5 pound plate to each side of the barbell every other week. And you can ride that for a very long time. Right. And that's where I think that beginners get this wrong a lot. Every 8th grader that I've ever coached falls into a routine where it's like, oh, we're doing dumbbell chest supported row. I do that with the 40s. Right.
Yeah.
They kind of like identify with it. And you stand there and you look at them go and you're like, hey, buddy, is that hard still? And they're like, yeah, it still feels pretty hard. And here's where beginners always go wrong, is like, they don't know what hard really feels like yet. Right. And they are like, they think it feels hard because they've told themselves like, I do the 40s and it's challenging. And it was challenging at one point. And I'm like, hey, buddy, why don't you go grab 50s or 45s and try that? And then they can do it. Right. And then 1, they can do it. And 2, they're like, oh, that was what hard feels like. That's what challenging actually feels like. And they go back to the 40s and they're like, wow, that feels easy now relative to what I just did. Mm-hmm. But you have to just say like, I'm going up in weight now, no matter what, so that you can experience that. Right. And if you go up and you can't complete all the reps you planned, then by all means, you can come back. You can come back down and be like, I'm going to go do the reps I can. But sometimes it's okay to be like, hey, I planned a set of 6 and I only got 4, or I got 5. Your body has no idea what 6 is, right? Like there's this running joke about like all the periodization textbooks, like they skip number 7. They go from, 1 to 3 reps, 4 to 6 reps, 8 to 12 reps. It's like if you do 7 reps, nothing happens. If you do 7 reps, it doesn't work at all. So, but the truth is, biology doesn't know what 7 is, or 11, or 8, or 5, or 4. Like it just knows relative challenge and relative load, right? And so if you're doing a set of 3, presumably it's heavier, right? Generally, right? Unless, we can get into the weeds on like speed work and stuff, but these principles still apply, by the way, because failure, like I said, you got to be close to failure. You just move the goalposts and redefine what that is. If you're doing speed work, failure is I can't move it over the threshold of speed that I want anymore. And that's where those VBT devices come in really handy, where you set a speed, you drop below it, you're done. Failure, right? It's actually a really safe way to train if you want to, because you're not going to true failure, so you're not going to get squished. But that's not really the point of my little paradigm here. So progression is the name of the game. And if you have the patience to just add a little bit of weight every week or every other week, then you can make a ton of gains in like a year. Everybody overestimates what they can do in a month and underestimates what they can do in a year. Every kid wants to go up in weight by like 40, 50 pounds at a time. You know, I'm like, hey, go up and weight a little bit on that. And what are they doing? They're putting a 10 on each side. And I'm like, so you just added 20 pounds. You started at 120. So you just went up by like 15%, right? Or, yeah, you know, almost 20% jump, right? Or I had a kid the other day, he was at 95 and he put a 10 on each side. I said, hey, go up and weight a little bit. So he added a 10-pound plate on each side. And I'm like, that's like a 30% almost. You just went up. Like, that's huge relative to what you're just doing. So you like, I have this speech I give. I have the little 2.5-pound cookie plate and I wave it around like, this is your best friend right here. Like, this is the name, like, because, and then I always walk them through. Anytime I have a person who's newer to training as a client, I walk them through, hey, let's say you start your squat at 95 pounds and you go up 5 pounds every other week, which is like super slow progression, just every other. How many weeks are in a year? There's 52 weeks in a year. Okay. So that's, let's call it 25 jumps of 5 pounds. What's 25 times 5? It's 125. Oh, okay. So if I just follow that for 1 year consistently, I will go up 125 pounds on my squat. Yes. So what's 125 plus 95? You know, then I lose them. I'm like, it's, you know, 195 plus 100, 195. Okay, it's 215.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 215, or it's 220, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do public math, but I'm doing it. So I'm like, that's a working set too, by the way. That's not your 1 rep max. So, you know, how many reps can you do 95 for today? I don't know, maybe like 8. Okay. So like, if I told you 1 year from now, you could do 225 for 8, would you be happy? Yeah. Like, that'd be sick. Okay. Then just a little bit at a time for a long time. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's like the other thing is that progressive overload, forced progressive overload for a long period of time, you know, and that's like that's the minimum. 5 pounds every other week. That's nothing, dude. You could theoretically do it every week if you were consistent enough, you know?
I mean, if you're a novice, yeah.
Yeah. If you're a little newer to training, like, you and I
that.
can't do that because we have too much training age at this point. But if you're a little bit more of a novice, if you're a little newer to lifting weights, you can go up. If you're, let's say you do a squatting exercise twice a week. Mm-hmm. You don't go up every workout, but you go up every week. So every other workout, right? And that's why I said every other week, because oftentimes people are doing that movement once per week. So you're going up like every other workout. Mm. So that's not asking that much. So in 200 pounds a year on a lift, it would be insane progress. Like if you told me, hey, in the last 2 years, I added 400 pounds to my squat, I'd be like, who's your PED guy? Like, let me get your
drug guy's number. Yeah.
But novices can do that. Novices genuinely can and do that. So if you're newer, it's really crazy what you can do if you're just consistent.
When I was a novice, so like at the high school that I went to, we didn't have any barbells. So I had never barbell squatted before I got to college. Go to college. My first ever, I weigh 240 something pounds at this point. My best squat is like 185 for a set of 3. And the other 2 reps in the set were not good. By the end of the year, I was squatting 350. Mm-hmm. That's in the college year. So that was from October to May. So however many months that is, I went up almost 200 pounds in my squat, just purely just trying harder and doing more. Same thing with like, it is, and it's since then, obviously it's tapered off significantly. You know, since then I've only put on probably 100 pounds onto my squat since then. But the point is that it's very possible. And the idea of the directive of just trying really hard to understanding what the goal of what you're trying to do. So for me, when I was squatting, I was like, all right, my legs are obviously weak. This weakness is slowing me down. If I can figure out how to put on more strength, then I'll have the ability to move faster, and in turn, it'll make me a better baseball player, right? Because that was my limiter. Is I just relative force output. I couldn't. My threshold wasn't high enough, so even if I did a bunch of speed work, there was no way for me to continue to go faster because I couldn't recruit anymore, right? My neurologically, there was nothing left to recruit. So very easy for me to understand. My strength coach goes, "Dude, you just got to get. You're just a kind of noodly fat kid," and I was like, "Yep." And he said, "Just get stronger." And I said, "I could do that." And what do you know? You get way stronger, and all of a sudden things get a lot easier. And then the other part too is that idea of what it means to actually try. We deal with this a lot in the training sphere of baseball. We go to these really big velo days, these high speed days, and I go, "Are you trying?" And they don't understand what it is to try. What that feeling is, where it's you've tapped out. Everything is completely tapped out. You're trying so hard that you're seeing stars. You might fall over. The squish is inbound. You're going to fail. You're going to get crushed, but you're still going to push against it. That ability to lean into that discomfort is one of the things that makes effective training, makes effective rehab, makes effective throwing, makes any type of like physical adaptation is takes leaning into that discomfort and really being comfortable trying so hard that you said, "Oh, that hurt." Like not hurt in the pain way, but hurt in the way where you're like, "Oh, I really had to try that time." Yeah. Like that is that paradigm is so important, which is what you just spoke to, in understanding that needle moving that 5 pounds at a time for a novice, or even for somebody who's been in the gym a long time. If you can have a large enough exercise novelty, you could hold that true. You could carry that 5 pound variation probably through an entire year if you had enough novelty, and you'd make. That's kind of what we do. And I mean, I hit a PR every year on something, and it's usually a pretty big one, but I don't try to do that often. It's just kind of like all the stars align and you feel good enough and you can finally send it. But you're always operating at that upper end of that effort level. Your body's always conditioned to it. So you're never at that point where you go, "I haven't tried hard in a while. I shouldn't do this." And then you go, "Oh wait, never mind. I could try harder. Let's do more." So that's a very good point, Zach, about the idea of just understanding that progression is linear in a way, but also it's controlled by what your determination of progression is and what you perceive to be necessary to reach your goal.
Yeah.
Understanding.
And those little caveats are where you get into more advanced things like undulating periodization, nonlinear periodization, and all those things, right? Because like for most of us, once you get past that novice stage, it isn't just like, hey, lift more weight, be bigger. You're also looking for contractile capabilities, mobility. You're looking for intramuscular coordination. You're looking for transfer training. You're looking for specifics on positions and specifics on ranges of motion, right? You get into the sport-specific training, which does exist, by the way. Did you see my midwit meme I posted a few weeks ago? Yeah.
Yes.
It's like it's my favorite meme in the world, the midwit meme. Like, the dumb guy and the smart guy are both like sports-specific training exists, and the middle guy is like, no, you cannot sports-specific train. You just squat, hinge, push, pull, carry, and that you have to keep. It's all GPP. It's all general. And I'm like, have you watched sports? Like, there's definitely movements. There's like I'm not saying go full like internet training guru and bring a baseball bat into the weight room and be doing like waving it around and shit, but like there's definitely specific ranges of motion, specific tissue qualities that are relevant to certain sports that are not relevant to other sports, or maybe just sports in general, right? If you're an athlete playing sports, there are things that you should be doing when you train that regular people don't need to worry about, and so on. So, like, let's be intellectually honest here. Also, by the way, I'm going to get to my last pillar here, but as another tangent, the basic human movement patterns being the idea that the basic human movement patterns are squat, hinge, push, pull, carry. You see that a lot. That's so barbell coded. It's so annoying to me. Yes, those are things that every person should be able to do. You should be able to squat, you should be able to hinge, you should be able to push something and pull something and carry something. Yes. to call those the basic human movement patterns, how about jog, run, skip, crawl, roll, sprint,
Bend,
like
twist,
twist. How about
Yeah.
twisting? Like what do you mean the basic human movement pattern is push
Yeah,
and
man.
pull? Come on, like
Push and pull.
bench.
What? Where?
One of
How?
one of the basic human movement patterns is bench press.
I mean, it's
Where's my
important,
seat?
but it
Where's my
also.
CPAP?
I had that conversation. Literally after we had that conversation, I had it with somebody else because they were one of the volleyball players we train. I mean, this kid's crazy athletic, and he goes, "Yeah, I don't want to get too big." I said, "Brother, you're 208 pounds, and you can still jump 60 something inches in the air. We got some room left to grow." I was like, "You're gonna be fine." He goes, "Oh,
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
slow." I said, "You've hit a box jump PR three weeks in a row. I think we're okay." I was like, "I think you might be 215 pounds by the time we're done with this." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, dude. Like, just trust me, please."
Yeah.
Calm down.
So, yeah, man, that brings me to my last one, which is just consistency, right? Somebody I really admire in like the fitness world, business of fitness, but also like fitness in general, is Corey Gregory. And it's for a couple of reasons. Like, one is that he's really he's built a business that's really authentic to him, and I think that's awesome. But number two is he's in his 40s or maybe even 50s now. I don't know, his kids are like in college, so he's not in his 30s, that's for sure. And he has maintained this really healthy physique. He's super strong, especially against like everyday person standards. And he says this line sometimes, or at least I've heard him say it before. He's like, "I don't do anything exceptional. I just never fucking miss." He's up. He gets up at like 3 a.m. every day to go to the gym, to go and lift weights before he gets to working on his business. And then he doesn't lift at night because he's spending time with his family, but he never misses. He's always up. He's always training. And when you never miss, you don't have to worry about having the perfect program. You don't have to like nail the exact training cycle and the mesocycle and the morphocycle and the microcycle. Like, all that stuff is great when you're programming for an athlete and you have like this number of weeks for the off season and so on. But if you're a beginner or if you're an everyday person, just don't ever miss. Never miss. And you'll be all right. And that's one thing, obviously, like, there are times when it feels somewhat disingenuous because I have a business and I stand to gain from people not like pausing their membership. But the truth is, it's true. The number one predictor of success is consistency of attendance. Like, just be at every session, no matter what, and don't stop for months at a time, because that's the biggest mistake, especially young athletes make, is they like, this offseason I'm going to get big, and then they lift weights in the offseason, and then the season rolls around, and then like take a baseball player, for example, from April to August, they don't lift weights, and then they get to October, and they're like, okay, it's offseason, time to start again. You're starting more or less where you started last offseason now. The odds that you're going to pick up where you left off are exactly zero. It's not going to happen. So you have to keep the thread rolling, right? If you want to have the opportunity, this should have been number one. I should have started with this because everything else I said really matters, because my point was that like just showing up isn't enough. But if you're not showing up, none of that other shit matters. You have to be in the weight room if you want the opportunity to do pillars 1 through 4. So this should be in reverse order. I should have consistency of attendance as number one. It's pillar number one. You can't do any of that if you're not in the gym. So, and if you're an everyday person, if you're a non-competitive athlete, or if you're a weekend athlete, if you're an adult playing men's league, whatever, you would really benefit from just making sure that you don't take any extended periods of time off. And that means like giving yourself grace. If like you're like, oh man, all I got time for is like 35 minutes in the gym, do it then. I've never done a workout that I regretted doing.
Yeah.
I've done workouts where I'm like, I wish that was better, but I'm not like pissed off that I did it, And so that's something that's really, really important.
you and I have talked about this before. Megan and I talk about this all the time. You never go and do something and you're like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Unless you
Yeah.
like hurt yourself doing something dumb. But I'm saying just when you got 35 minutes, 20 minutes,
Yeah.
just go move around and you will feel better afterwards. Even without taking caffeine or anything, you'll get done and you'll go, yeah, I'm glad I did that. That was good for me. And that over time, I mean, another great example of consistency, Louis Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Never missed. Deadlifted 700 plus pounds into his 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. That is absolutely insane. That is not perfect periodization. That is not any of these amazing, like long-term. One of our favorite guys, Rick the Stickdale Hagen, Eric Bugenhagen. He is a freak. He trains 6 to 7 days a week, every week. It's also because he's a former addict, and the only way he can get through it is to train every day. So it's another one that's an American Olympic weightlifting legend, Donnie Schenkel. Donnie Schenkel's 50-something years old now, runs a gym in New York. He's still clean and jerks 165, 170. He's in his late 40s.
Yeah.
Just don't miss. If you're going to start
kilos,
something.
by the way, for the listener.
Yep.
Kilos.
Sorry. So that's almost 400 pounds, approximately.
400
just under
freedom
400
units.
Pounds. Yep. So for the purpose of getting better, it's the same thing as everyone wants to make more money, right? Or most people want to make more money, or they want to be more successful in their job, right? Show up every day to your job. You want to live longer? Do you want to live longer, or do you just want to die? So it's so important to be consistent. That is, I 100% agree. That should have been number one. Show up, you idiots. You want to get better, you got to be there. You don't want to get better, don't come. And it is the, I don't know. I think sometimes in the monotony of being there all the time, you find freedom because you can control yourself enough to be consistent and to be disciplined enough. You go, okay, I'm doing this today. This is what I'm doing. There was a friend of mine in Arizona he was like, I'm at my 100 and whatever workout for the year. This is the most I've ever done in a year. And I started doing the math. I was like, I think I've worked out 240 plus times to 250 plus times every year for the last decade and a half. We've talked about this on here. And and he goes, that's crazy. And I said, I don't think so. This is just,
it sounds crazy when you stop and
Yeah.
add it up. It sounds crazy, but yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at
that's
it,
still almost 100 days off in a year.
Might get 300 workouts a year.
Yeah,
because
you're
taking 1 to 2 days off per week.
Yeah,
65 days off in a year. You might cross 300 if you're
260 if you did 5 days a week. Every week of the year, 260 workouts a year. That's still almost 100 days off a year where you're not working out, where you're not intentionally working out. That doesn't mean you're not doing something. So like for me, whether it be playing baseball or going and golfing or throwing with the guys or, those are still physical demands, right? But it's just that idea that you could work out 5 days a week and you still have 105 days where you could just not do shit. You could sit on your thumb and not care. And you'll still get way better going 5 days a week. You can do 4 days a week.
This is why I don't bend over backwards to like lift weights on holidays. Like people have this odd thing where they're like, or they're on vacation and they're like, I gotta hit the gym, and I don't. People are always surprised because I'm like, I'm a coach and I'm a fitness business owner, and like, people are like, oh yeah, when you travel, you must look for hotels with good gyms. And I'm like, no, I don't really lift when I travel. Not on vacation. Like if I travel for work, I'm usually doing that because I'm kind of in that routine. But, I'll just do whatever. If the hotel doesn't have a good gym, I'll just run, do push-ups in the hotel room, whatever. But Thanksgiving Day was yesterday, right? And I was talking to one of the athletes, and he was one of those athletes who's good about this. Like, he doesn't take any days off. And I was like, you going to take Thanksgiving off? And he's like, no, I have a home gym. I'll lift on Thanksgiving. It's like, on one hand, it's like, yeah, that's fine, right? Of course, in many cases, what the hell else are you doing all day, right? But I never do. I don't lift weights on Thanksgiving Day. I don't lift weights on Christmas Day. I take, 4th of July. I don't, like, people I think it's almost performative sometimes. You're trying to prove to yourself, like, look how committed I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to log 300 workouts this year. I don't need to do it on Thanksgiving Day.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have 300 other days that I'm going to do it. You
Yeah.
know, and if you want to do 365 workouts this year and take 0 days off, great. That's fine, right? But the reality is, like, you take the day that's supposed to be a day off, and then don't give yourself that day where you're like, because people who do that are also the same people who it's like a random Tuesday and they just, I got busy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what? You bent over backwards to go to the gym on the morning of Thanksgiving and fought over a crowded gym, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're giving yourself permission to bag it on a random Wednesday in August. Like, what are we
Yeah.
talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, that kind of healthy balance of committed, consistent, also committed and consistent with your recovery and your days off, really valuable.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's like, it's a diet thing. So like, here's the bonus pillar: diet, right? And you could do a whole other like episode just on making your diet right so that you make sure your training works. But people will go and they'll train really hard and eat a shit diet, and then they'll wonder why they're not getting results. You know, I'm not getting the muscle growth I want. I'm not getting the body composition changes I want. I'm not getting the strength gains I want, right? And sleep, obviously, right? If you're not sleeping, I don't know what you expect, especially for neurological gains. Like, if you want to be
Mm-hmm.
stronger or faster, that's a really heavily nervous system driven adaptation. So if you're not giving your brain and your nervous system the rest it needs, good luck.
Mm-hmm. I
Not
agree.
gonna happen.
I think that might be one of the biggest kickers. I remember when I was in college. I mean, I just ate everything in college because it was like the caloric demand of when you're training 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You can literally eat everything, 4,000 plus calories, and
Oh, yeah.
then switching up. Like, once Megan and I got married and we really kind of dialed in, we've been eating relatively the same for years. And Zach, for those of you who haven't met me, I'm not a slim hipped young man. I am not. I will never be. I'll never be crazy. I'll never be crazy lean. Like, at my leanest, I can get down to maybe 215 ish. But then I look kind of weird. Like, I don't look normal. It's not normal for me to be at that weight. My body doesn't function as well. We've talked about this on here. Me around 230 ish is perfect. That's where I recover the best. It's where I sleep the best. I'm not the leanest. I'm not going to look crazy. This is another kicker for all you athletes out there. Being stupid lean might not be the best build for you personally.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying you should be fat, but your body type might just not be that. You might not be that guy. The best athlete in the gym might not be the guy who's literally crazy shredded lean. Now, sometimes it is just because they have elite genetics. Like, don't get me wrong, that's part of it. But you also, for you, that might not be the best. You need to figure out what your energy demands are and how you're built and how you sleep the best, because the recovery part of it's so important, right? So if you're so lean that you can't recover because your body is screaming at you, maybe don't be that lean.
Yep.
Also, if you're so fat you can't breathe, maybe don't be that fat. So it's you got to kind of find the pocket and understand that eating towards that goal, or eating enough. One of my buddies gives me shit all the time. He goes, dude, we go out to eat and you're hungry afterwards. I'm like, yeah, dude, he goes,
well, listen,
I'm starving,
Okay.
like,
for the listener, Alex also eats faster than any human being I have ever seen in my entire life. He is the single fastest eater. So I think if he doesn't feel full after he's done eating, I think it's because his brain hasn't had a chance to catch up. I mean, I'm not kidding, right? Like, we went after work a couple weeks back. We went and got cheeseburgers at this local dive. Shout out Lion's Tap in Eden Prairie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alex is kind of a hater, but that's a different topic for a different episode.
That's a me problem.
We all ordered like 2 cheeseburgers because they're like small little dive bar cheeseburgers, right? And I'm like working my way into my first one, and I kind of look up at Alex, and his are gone. I mean, I'm not even into the second burger yet, and he's got like his hand is in his mouth, like up to the first knuckle. He literally looks like Joey Chestnut, just like housing these cheeseburgers. And I'm like, hey man, nobody's gonna take those from you. Like,
You don't know that. You don't know that. Someone could walk up and take that away from me right away. That could happen. That's been, I don't know. I don't know. It's been like that since I was a kid, dude. My mom like laughs at me because she goes, even when you were a kid, you would just eat as fast as possible so you could move on to the next thing. And
yeah,
food for me is fuel. Like what is it? What's it made of? How can I get more of it? I look at a menu.
I gotta go
think
back
I'm
outside,
broken.
Mom.
Dude, I look at a menu. I'm broken. I look at a menu and I go, okay, where's the most food for my money? I don't look at like what I actually want. I look at the menu and I go, okay, where's the bang for the buck section? Like, how am I going to get the most out of this? Like, I go to Wingstop, right? Great wing, right? I could go to any wing place. I go to Wingstop because it's the only place you can get a wing for $1, which is how much a wing should not cost any more than that, right? So for me, I'm like, all right, I can spend 20 something bucks there and I can actually get a meal because I get 20 wings. I go to B-Dubs and get 20 wings. It's $40. Like, what are we doing? It's so stupid. And I need, like, I don't know if I need 20 wings, but I feel a lot better after I've eaten 20 wings than after I've eaten 12. Definitive math. So it's one of those things that it just drives me nuts. I think my brain is broken, but at the same time, my system needs it. So I don't really. Is it perfect? I'm not really sure. It's just where we are, and it's where I've been for a long time. So none of it's changing. So, yeah.
There's so many layers of that makes that funny to me. One is that the threshold for a wing serving to become a legitimate meal is 20 to you.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
That's tremendous.
100%. What? Okay. So what's your threat? Okay, what are you gonna eat 7 wings? And be like, oh, those were great. Like, no, you want at least 12 wings when you sit down and have wings.
I would say my threshold for like a meal is probably 12. You know, like now, granted,
that's the minimum.
I'm smaller.
No one's like, I want less than 12 wings.
No, yeah. I mean, not unless you're, just a little guy.
No.
But by the way, I played high school football with a guy named Frank Ragnow who played in the NFL. Actually, the news just broke. He's making a comeback. Did you happen to see that?
I did see that.
He's going back to the Lions to play. He's a center. So he played offensive line in the NFL. So you can kind of imagine what this guy's genetic code is. There's a Buffalo Wild Wings in my hometown, and it was a really common thing. Like after football, we'd go to B-Dubs, and they always had they'd have like happy hours or promos where you could get like cheaper wings or whatever. And this dude we'd go there and he would order legit like 50 wings and put it away. No problem. Right. And I remember thinking like, okay, he's different. And it was there. I mean, there was obviously like athletic feats where I was like, yeah, he's different, but like that was in there, watching him consume calories. I was like, he's a different breed of human being than me. And
they had
evidenced by his career now, but
that same B-Dubs it was the same B-Dubs that I went to when I was in high school. They had, there was a period where they were running an all you can eat, and I did 72 wings in a sitting. I have people that can back that up. I can make a call. Then we walked in, me and 3 of my buddies, it was during college, we walked in and they go, how many are you going to eat? And I was like, I don't know. I'm really hungry. I was like, I'm hungry. And they go, well, if we get like 24, that's worth the money. I said, yeah. You guys got anything planned? Because we all rode together. I go, we got any planned after this? I was like, because I'm really hungry. And I got to like 60 and I was like, oh, I'm feeling full now. And then I was like, I could eat some more. And the lady kept bringing them. She kept slowing down. I said, hey, can I'm going to eat these before you get back to the kitchen. Can you just keep, just as soon as you get back, just bring more? She goes, I have to see that it's empty. And I had her, I was a young man. Okay. This is not my most proud moment, but it's funny. I had her stand there and I was like, okay, I'm going to eat this. I want you to watch how long it takes me to eat this. And she goes, no, I got stuff to do. I was like, it's going to take literally a minute. Can you just stand there, please? And I ate 6 wings. I ate 6 wings in like two minutes or something like that. And she goes, and she laughed at me. And of course, I'm 250 something pounds at this point. She, I'm not taking this waitress anywhere. I have no intention to be appealing towards this woman. I'm just here to eat the wings, right? And I look up at her, and of course, I probably had sauce over my hands, and I go, "Can you please bring me more wings?" And she like looked at me so disappointed. She's just like, "All right, fine." And so, and then I hit like 72 or 74, and I was just like, "All right, that's enough. We can be done." And then we left.
I think you might have missed your true calling. You know, you played competitive sports. You played Division I baseball. I think you should have been a competitive eater. I think we could have been watching you on TV on the 4th of July.
Dude, I'd be dead. If I was a competitive eater, I'd be dead. I'd be a dead man. There's no way I'd still be alive. I'd be 10 feet down. I'd be so dead. Be bad news. Yeah.
Holy shit. 72 is crazy, dude. Yeah. When I was in college playing baseball, there was a summer league I played in Iowa. And we were in this little rural town in Iowa, and they had like a local steakhouse, right? And they had a food challenge there where it was one of those things like if you finish it in under a certain amount of time, it's free. And it was hilariously easy. Mm-hmm. By the time we were done playing our season there, the place stopped doing it. Because it was like finish. I don't 100% remember what it was, but it was like maybe a 24-ounce steak, 16 to 24-ounce steak, and like a plate of fries. Finish it in under an hour or under 45 minutes, and it's free. And the first time we went there was like maybe a group of 5 of us, and we're looking at the menu, and we like look down at the menu, and we kind of look at each other like, "Is this right?" We can for sure do that, right? You know? Yeah. So we all ordered it. We all did it. And the wait, you could see the waitress was kind of like, we're in trouble. we might have legit like put that place out of business. I don't know. Because we went there every week and we're like, yeah, we'll take the challenge.
And bring out the challenge.
House this steak and fries and be like, yeah, we're out of here. Thanks for the free meal. Again, maybe not something I should be proud of, but like make the challenge harder. Dum-dums.
Make it a challenge, actually. All right. What do you think, Zachary? Good place to wrap after talking all that training and then how important it is to eat.
Yeah. There you go. That's the pod.
All right. Until next time, you guys. Goodbye.